Yo. It's been a minute, hasn't it? New season came out. So finally this is gonna be the first Smite meta update of that. Ranked is reset, meaning everybody was at 1500 to start out. If you want to avoid the chaos, I'd say wait a week or two. But if you want to hop into it, here's what you should follow. As per usual, we're gonna start out with the carry role and move all the way over to solo. I'm gonna go over maybe some building stuff as well, but here's who I think you should be playing. In the hunter role, for once we're not going to the hunter tab, because mage ADCs are nuts. The worst of which is this one. Holds a lot of high pressure, can do quite a... Basically, Soul's doing what she's always done. She has a lot of high pressure. She has incredible bastion pressure with her passive. And she is doing something that every magical ADC is currently doing. However, I believe she does the best. She's doing this. Going into whatever item you want first. I usually would go with Book, but with Freya in particular, Hastened Ring is core. You go Hastened Ring, and then you go second item Berserker Shield. The enemy hunter has a hard time fighting you in the slightest with that. It becomes borderline impossible to do so, at least early on. Whereas somebody like Kronos, let's say, builds more like a standard mage, but you throw that Berserker Shield in there, and still do the same thing. Magical hunters are the best hunters right now. I'd say the bottom of that list is difficult to say, but it might be Olorun, because Olorun is much easier to catch out than somebody like Freya, Soul, or Kronos. But Olorun is still very strong. If you're going to go with the regular hunters, this bitch is still broken. There's a reason why she had 100% participation in, or 100% pick/ban rate at Worlds. Ishtar's broken. She's still really good. Does she get out traded by the magical hunters once they get the Berserker Shield? Yeah, but she still has all the same strengths as she did before. Same with Cernanos. Rama would probably be the third place, and the rest of it is kind of just, what are you comfortable on at this point? We're not really sure. By we, I mean me. Anyway, one of your hunters. For support, Maui is still really, really strong. If you saw him at Worlds, what the pros can do with him, he's cracked. His character is nuts. If you're a good Maui, you should definitely be playing him in ranked. Other than that, there's always like the solid Ares, like I said before, Yamoja. If you're good with them, you can play them and run games with them. There's also a prominent quote-unquote support. There are some people that are just going basically a second solo laner and just building warriors or guardians like solo laners and just fighting all the time. But if you're going to go with the true support, Ares, Maui, Yamoja, Atlas, Ymir, very, very good. Sobek is a super underrated pick. Would I call him the peak? No. But he's very good at pressuring the magical ADCs early on, forcing their relics. If you get a pluck onto them, they're likely to die or use a relic. Sobek's definitely an underrated pick, and if you're a support player, you should definitely practice him a little bit. Athena as well. Very strong. They do very similar things, but Sobek's, I'd say, a little bit better at it, the aggressive part. Athena's a little bit more... Athena's better in the staying alive and consistency part. If you're going to go with warrior support, Horus is really the best one. Mulan's okay. Achilles is okay. Erlang sucks in support. Don't play him there. Shiva's okay, but Horus is really the main one. Moving on to mid lane. Mid has been very, very strange. I would go to the mage tab, but I first want to talk about the hunters. Hunters in mid feel good, because Bluestone is broken. Chiron, Uller, even... I haven't really seen much of Muzen Cobb, but Chiron and Uller are pretty powerful in the mid lane right now. They have good pressure, because they're hunters in the mid lane. And you can play a lot of them in mid. Rama feels pretty good. Medusa feels pretty good. Ishtar you can play in ADC or carry. It doesn't matter. Cernanos the same thing. But yeah. In terms of mages, Kronos. Once again, Kronos is an absurd amount of damage, and after you get one or two items, you feel like you're just untouchable. You basically build the same thing I showed before, other than the Berserker Shield. You don't have to buy it there, because you're not always fighting a physical. If you aren't playing Kronos as a mid laner, you are making a mistake, and you should practice him. Afterwards, It's really kind of up in the air right now. Like I said before, I wanted to wait a little bit. I didn't want to make guesses. I wanted to wait to make sure I had certain things right. But it's a lot of guessing. Merlin feels pretty good. The Morgan feels pretty good. Tiamat feels pretty good. Vulcan feels pretty good. Sol feels pretty good. Scylla feels pretty good. I could say that about Yu Huang. I could say that about a lot of the picks that are in here. Agni, also a pretty underrated pick. Discordia, pretty good. It's a lot of variety, and if you want to experiment in ranked right now, do it. See what works best for you. Moving on to the jungle. Junglers have had something interesting going on. You don't have to go a jungle starter item. And by that I mean Bluestone has proven to be effective in the jungle. Because of the way the game starts, you aren't tanking as much, and you don't need to sustain as much for the early on. Bluestone is effective on junglers now, and they can buy it. The best picks right now, Thor, Fenrir, who's another one? Thor, Fenrir, Naja feels really good. Mercury feels... If you want to run a game, and you feel like you're the hyper carry, slam Mercury. Mercury's building... Obviously, you go your normal Eye, or your Bumba's Dagger if you want that, but you usually go Eye. You get your Golden Blade, and then you move into Rage. Rage is really good right now. After that, you just go standard Mercury, and that's it. Mercury feels really, really good right now. Pele feels good. Like I said before, Fenrir, Thor feels good. Lancelot doesn't feel bad. He feels okay. There's some other... Nemesis, Naja, other picks. Let me go over to Warriors real quick. Osiris feels okay. But really, the Warrior jungles are kind of... worse than I would say, most of the assassin junglers. You have so many options now with the defensive items and whatnot, and offensive items. You just have a lot. Now, I'm going to talk about solo lane now, but I will say this video has been a little bit faster than normal, but it is still a lot of experimentation. People are thinking about things. Before I gave you some hunter builds, I didn't really talk them over. If you want solo lane builds and what you should build, Haddox made an excellent video on it. I'll link it below. Make sure you're subbed to him and following him on Twitch, by the way. Guy's a cracked solo laner. But he made an excellent video kind of going over the solo laners and what you should be building on them. Contagion is almost a must-buy in this meta. Contagion, the damage you do is ridiculous. It feels good. You do feel a little less tanky than you were like last time. I feel like the hunters, the magical ADCs specifically, are doing a lot more damage. And I'm sorry to say this, but Heart Ward is probably still the best. Upgraded Heart Ward is probably still the best magic. Having said that, King Arthur doesn't feel like dog shit anymore. He feels playable. Amaterasu feels pretty decent. Osiris with Bluestone instead of Death's Toll now. Because of Bluestone being so good, the upgrade for Bluestone being so good, you build it on pretty much anybody you have an excuse to in solo lane. Cullen, Osiris, Ama, you don't go Bluestone, you go Death's Toll. Same with Bologna, you go Death's Toll. Even though Bluestone can work on her, she's just so good with Death's Toll. Mulan, Tyr, Guan, all feel really good. If you're going to go a Guardian, a Bracken feels pretty decent. Artio feels pretty decent. Her with the Glad Shield isn't as oppressive as some people thought it was going to be. I wasn't entirely sure on it. Jormungandr, you can build him damage, you can build him hybrid, it doesn't fucking matter. This character has lane pressure, that's what he does. That's how he exists. Lastly, Hades, Aokwang, really are the big two that are solo lane mages right now. You can play Chunga, Baron, that stuff, but it's better for you to get... Aokwang has a lot of pressure because of his low cooldowns. Hades has a lot of pressure because he instantly clears the way by pushing 2 buttons. After level 3. Yeah, this one was a bit shorter, but I wanted to get it out to you and give you the information that I have. I don't want to make guesses. I don't want to give you wrong information. This is what I have learned and what I have felt. So, hope you enjoyed it.